Welcome to Is Anybody Listening to Me podcast with Azar and the Meat. We skipped a week, but we're back at it. We have so much to cover, and we're really excited. We're deep into fantasy season now. We're 3 weeks into the Patriots season. That hasn't been as exciting as we hoped, but it's still plenty to talk about. And Big Meat and I are just going to talk about I'm going to review a beer that I had a chance to try that I'm going to share with the group. So let me welcome my partner, Big Meat. How's it going?
It's going well, and you know that our fans are waiting for our podcast. When you get a text every day, where is the podcast? When does anybody know where I can listen to a good podcast? You get it all the time, and we hate to keep our fans waiting. So here we are. We're back at it, doing this again. We're going to try to keep with our schedule going. I know we're a few weeks into the fantasy season, but there's some exciting shows that are coming up that we're going to talk about a little later on that I think is definitely going to keep us busy through the fall and winter.
I agree. I get the demand from the fans. Sometimes I feel like if you ever listen to the Kirk Minahan podcast on Barstool, he curses his fans. Like, he doesn't care. He's like, screw him. And some days I feel like that, but then some days I feel, oh, no, we got to get back on track. But I feel like our third man, because he's not on. He's got daddy duties again, and hopefully he's going to try to join us. But I'm starting to know his pain. I adopted a puppy, and now I'm feeling the pain that I think our third man goes through. It's just so time consuming. And now that you were talking about all these exciting shows before the podcast that are coming up, and I'm like, how am I going to find the time to watch all this stuff with how busy with the kids' school, sports, and everything else that's going on? It's just chaos, but we'll power through for our fans. We'll power through, Big Meat.
That's why we have our alcohol to drink. That's why we get our whiskey. It gets us through the days.
Yes.
Gets us through it.
I gotta say, you showed me this because you had one of these. I forget, was it the Death Star? You had a mold. Was it a Star Wars mold for Ice Cube that you had?
Yeah. Well, it's just a sphere. I don't think it's an actual Death Star, but I've seen the actual Death Star ice molds before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was, but you're right. It was a sphere, and you were saying how much better it is because it doesn't melt when you're drinking your whiskey. It's so much better. And I ended up getting an ice mold for a football, and I had the whiskey the other day, and it was really nice to be able to drink your whiskey without it getting watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I've been putting less and less ice cube because I'm like, well, I don't want it to melt fast, but I feel like it still waters it down no matter what you put in there. If you put 1 cube or 2, it still gives it like a little bit of watery. But that block, that is like awesome.
Right.
Now, of course, you could drink faster and avoid the problem, but if you just want to sip and enjoy your whiskey, I find that ice cube is awesome. The solid ice cube. So go get one. If you haven't invested in one, they are so much better than your ice cubes that come out of your fridge or your ice machine that you have at home. Just spend a few bucks.
It is. They do melt fast. With the regular ice cubes, you don't realize when you're drinking, and you're like, oh, you feel like you're drinking it fast enough, but they're still. You look down, and the ice cubes are like barely anything in there.
Yeah.
Where the ice spheres really do stay there. But you make a good point. Is that you do drink it faster with the ice sphere, and or at least with the ice cubes, right? I mean, they're melting, so it's watering down. So you're drinking it, and it's just you're not consuming as much alcohol so quickly. You know what I mean? So I guess there's pros and cons to it. I guess it's not a bad thing, right? I mean, if you like your whiskey, you don't want to water it down. So just drink responsibly. Unfortunately, I'm not that person. I like to suck it back.
Well, it's funny because we spend so much money on whiskey. So if you buy a quality whiskey, the last thing you want to do is lose the flavor. And that's what I noticed is that when the ice melts, it doesn't have that same flavor. But you are right. When it's a solid block, it's not diluted anymore. You're just drinking straight booze. And then you're like, oh, well, there's still ice in there. Let me put some more whiskey.
Yeah. So you just got to be careful. If you're going to go down that route, then definitely watch how fast you're drinking it. Just, if you want to last, then maybe stick to the regular ice cubes.
I had one glass before bed and I was tired and I just had it and I drank it so fast that I was like, whew, that went down really fast. I slept so good that night. I was like, all right, well, I guess it's time for bed. I might as well pass out now.
There you go.
Now the flip side is I'm enjoying this delicious beer, and it's a pretty big can. I think it's got to be a 16-ounce can, and I'm enjoying it. And then I'm realizing this is probably why I wake up in the middle of the night when I drink it, like at late at night. I'm having not late at night, but later in the night, I'm having these tall cans of beer. There's only a few people that can hold their booze and not get up every 5 minutes. We went to Tampa with that person, but anyways, I'm enjoying it, and it's fall. I remember I was telling you that I was waiting for the fall season to kick in, and I found I didn't want to keep. I like the Jack O's. We talked about that, and I was like, I want something different, and I went into the liquor store in Burlington. I don't know if you ever been there. It's called Total Wine. It's right off the highway on 3A. I think it's called Total Wine and Liquor, if I'm not mistaken. And they have such a huge selection of everything alcohol. I actually didn't go in there for pumpkin beer. I actually went in there because they were selling that apple cider. I'm sorry, it's apple cider donut flavored hard cider.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that before.
They were sold out of in New Hampshire. And I was Googling where to find it, and that place had cases of them. So I flew down there, and then I was walking in there, and then they had this section of seasonal beers, and they had so many different types of pumpkin beer that I was blown away. I was like, we have barely scratched the surface. Like, we see what we see at Market Basket. They stock kind of like the big names.
Right.
There are so many little craft breweries that do a pumpkin flavor. I was thrilled. There was, Smutty Nose with their deceptive marketing. I almost picked up a can of Smutty Nose because the labeling looked good. I was like, oh, this looks good. I started walking, and I was like, oh, who makes it? As soon as I saw Smutty Nose, I was like, oh, hell no. I went back and put it back. No offense if you like Smutty Nose, and I don't want to insult the manufacturers, but yeah, it's like, oh, no thank you.
But didn't Wardos find another Smutty Nose? I thought it was a pumpkin flavored beer, but it was like a different version of it or different kind, and he said it wasn't that bad. I might be. Yeah. You didn't try it. Just
no.
Anything with Smutty Nose. Just
no. We haven't had any luck. No. You know what? Because they're not cheap. Like the craft beers aren't cheap, and they're only in 4-packs. If you're gonna buy it, unless I'm making another trip to Burlington, I don't want to be wrong, right? So I ended up grabbing this one called, and I was inspired because of what we talked about at the last podcast from Tampa, the Gourd. What was it
Gourd's
called?
Gone Wild.
Gourd's Gone Wild.
Gourd's Gone Wild, yeah.
So this one's called Gorgeous Pumpkin Ale. So I was like, well, you know what? In the spirit of what we just had, let me see what it's got.
Nice.
The only thing that it's lacking. So this is our buddy. This is inspired. The wording to describe this is inspired by our super spreader. Like, he could take this and be inspired by these words that were written for this. So this is it reads, "Hello, gorgeous. It's the beer everyone wants to be and the beer everyone wants to be with. Beyond being a knockout, this pumpkin ale drops the jaw with subtle notes of nutmeg, cinnamon, candied yams, and a rich, warm pie crust finish. Gorgeous pumpkin is so beautiful. It can launch, and I was like, I can see him writing that. I can see him writing that.
Oh yeah.
so anyway,
he goes on another level though. I think that's like the way they the marketing people that wrote that out, that sounds pretty good. But he goes on a whole other level, and it's usually like it's just like a mix of like jam or something. It's just it's nothing. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just he gives it these fancy names. Whereas if you go out to a nice restaurant and they come out with this nice meal and it's you read it on the menu and you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense of what I'm looking at here. He'll slap a peanut butter and jelly sandwich together and just give it some fancy name. It's just gotta love Super Spreader.
If he wants to be inspired, I mean, but the only thing it is good. It is very good. I gotta say, Gourd's Gone Wild was better, and only reason I thought it was better because this one doesn't have vanilla in it, and I did like that vanilla finish when you were drinking that one down in Tampa. But overall, not too bad.
It could have been also the fact that it was so damn hot down there, and when you're drinking it and it comes out and it's nice and cold, you're like, because because if we remember R3, he let it sit there for a little while, then he drank it, as it got a little warmer, and it was like, it's not
Yeah,
as good, and so maybe we were just, hot and thirsty. That's
you're
why,
right.
yeah. So we do have to find it somewhere here, and we got to make that a mission of ours to find that somewhere locally here, and try it and see if it's as good as we remember it.
Yeah, we got to get it shipped up here. We'll have to make some more effort. But this place is out of the brewery is called, and I swear, I think our buddy Wardo's mentioned this company before, Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's Cloud Candy. That's who
All right,
makes the
that's
the
why
cloud.
it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So they make this. So the people that make Cloud Candy make this. Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company out of Waltham, 16 ounces. I think, man, I want to say it was like 12, $15 for a 4-pack. I can't
Mm,
remember exactly because I bought other things, but overall, 6% alcohol. It's good. It's good for a pumpkin beer.
nice.
Not the,
Yeah,
is it the best? I don't know. I don't know if it's that,
mm,
but I don't do the sugar rim, so I'm just drinking it straight the way it's made, so it's not being extra sweetened by any like cinnamon sugar or any of
mm.
that nonsense. So, but it's a good pumpkin beer for the season. If you want to try something different, just head down.
Well, and that Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company, it's a popular one. Everybody raves about it. If you're an IPA drinker, people love that Cloud Candy. I tried it for the first time. It was disgusting. Like
Yeah,
I am convinced now that IPAs are not for me. I
no.
can't drink them. I don't care if anybody says no, but you got to try this IPA because it tastes really good. Nope, I'm not buying it. It's got that it's got whatever that ingredient is that they put in there.
Yeah,
It is not for me. I tried it at the Patriots game at Gillette, and I said, hey, finally I found I got Cloud Candy in a can. Everybody says you got to get it because I had it on tap before, and people said, you can't really you got to have it like fresh right out of the can. And so I did that, and no, I was forcing that shit down. I couldn't even drink it. Um, so yeah, no IBS. But that one, if you're recommending that, now I should say, me and your brother, not too long ago, we did have a few of Jackos, Sam Adams Jackos, and we had quite a few of them over the course of the day. And I got to tell you, zero hangover the next day. I can't tell you how many I drank. I drank a lot, but I didn't have any hangover. I almost didn't. I felt like I didn't really feel it all that much later in the night. And maybe it's just my tolerance for beer now. If I'm not drinking whiskey, it just nothing's happening, Azar. Nothing's happening.
It's your training from Tampa. It's made you
It
stronger.
probably
It
is.
made you
It
stronger.
probably is.
Yeah, you're probably still detoxing from, so nothing's really hitting you at this point. Yeah,
No, no.
we'll check back after the
I,
holiday.
you know what I got to do is I got to drink a little bit of whiskey, then I got to like drink a twisted tea, and then I gotta shotgun that with a Mick Ultra. Then
Ah,
I gotta go and back to whiskey, and then I gotta get some like little like cucumber drink
I was gonna
that you
say you
had
need
me
your
drink.
cucumber
Yeah,
mint gimlet. Yep.
yeah. I need a little bit of mix of that stuff, and then
Yeah.
and then that should do the trick.
Yeah. Hey, I never had a hangover all through Tampa. I was enjoying my beverages. I wasn't power drinking like the crew. Um, but anyways, but we'll move on. But that's the Mighty Squirrel Brewing, guys. Go down to, if you, I don't know, Total Wines in Burlington is the place I found it. So if you're down on 128 in Mass, definitely stop by there and grab some. All right, Big Meat. There's a lot of, you wanted to hit on some shows that are coming up in the next 3 to 4 months uh, that are coming. And the only thing that I wanted to give props to, that if you're not watching it, it's this Hulu original series. Just wanted to touch on it. It's called Only Murders in the Building. I like Steve Martin. I like Martin Short, and it has Selena Gomez as like they're the three lead actors. And I do actually like this actor a lot. Is Nathan Lane? He's another guy that I. So the cast is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a pretty solid cast, and it's a and I enjoy it because they're basically doing a true crime podcast, so of a murder in their building. So they're like it's those guys trying to solve the murder and figure out the murder so they can do their podcast. So at the same time,
Mm.
they're launching a podcast. So I just find it funny because I can relate to what they're doing. I do enjoy true crime podcasts, so I thought it was even funnier just watching them put this thing together. And it's a really creative show, and they're only half-hour episodes, and they only drop on Tuesdays. So you have to wait. So they leave you in suspense for the following week. But those guys are funny together. So it's a little slow at the beginning, but once it gets going, it's actually a pretty good show. And like I said, it's filled with some solid characters in there, some good name actors. So give it a whirl. And I have seen a lot of chatter on different podcasts and radio shows that I listen to have been talking about this. So if you're looking for something that's light, it's not too serious. It's like a quick show. It's only a half hour. Definitely give it a whirl if you're looking for something while you're waiting for these shows to go online that Meat's just going to talk about now. So that's my recommendation if you're looking for something to watch.
It's bringing back some old school actors there with Steve Martin and who's the other guy there?
Martin Short.
Martin Short, yeah.
Yeah.
I like them. I do like them, but they haven't done anything in so long that it'd be interesting to see them again in a show. So I have seen the commercial. Well, yeah, they've been doing stuff together for forever. So no, I've seen the trailer to it. Now that as you were explaining it, I do remember it now. There was like that kind of like crime, almost like a murder mystery type show.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. Yeah. So there's I know we touched on a few shows on the last podcast and movies, right? We have the new Spider-Man movie coming out. Shang-Chi is currently out now. We've yet to still see that movie. And we've touched on a couple other things, but we missed out on a few other big ones. Some of them are some of my personal favorites. We'll just stick with some like the Disney Plus theme shows that are coming up. We didn't even mention Hawkeye. Hawkeye, the trailer dropped a couple of weeks ago. That's a new Disney Plus show that's coming out.
How did it look? Because after the Winter Soldier, I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah,
because he's not like a solid character. Like and that was we thought we had all this expectation with Falcon. Is it Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah.
And I was kind of disappointed with that. So I guess I'm a little nervous because Hawkeye isn't another main character. Can he carry a show?
Yeah. Well, I think the guy that's played him, Jeremy Renner, right? I mean, he's been a pretty well-known actor that's carried movies on his own, right? And I know the other two, like they've had some movies as well, but I think he's been more of the better-known actor and has been doing movies a lot longer than those guys have, or at least have starred in those movies. So it does, by looking at the trailer, it looks a little bit more light, a little bit more fun than the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And there's a female lead in it that's supposed to be like the new, I guess, female Hawkeye version or whatever. So, and it looks like all the stuff that he did within the 5 years during the snap, right, where he was like out killing people, if you remember back in like the Avengers
Endgame movie. Assassin.
Yeah. So it all just kind of comes back to him, like everyone's coming back to him for revenge to like get back at him, and that's kind of like the premise of the show. So,
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
It does look pretty good, and of course now that he's back with his family coming back from the snap. It seems like now they're also in danger, so it's a little bit. The action looks good. We'll see. I mean, I hope I'm not disappointed like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If it's anything like that, then I'm just gonna be like, I might not even go through the whole season. I might watch the first couple of episodes and be like, no, I'm not being fooled again. Yeah. I'm not going down this road. I'm just
the problem is that like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, you have to go through it because some of the characters might be like key to the movies.
You do.
That's
right.
what sucks about that. As long as there's no boat and some relative owns a boat.
Talking to his sister on a boat. Like,
but if the whole first episode's him on the farm at his house in the farm, I'll probably lose my mind. I'm like, my God, we're gonna do this again.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Yeah. But you are right. You do kind of have to sit through. If it's not good, you're going to be forced to have to sit through it anyway. But a few other shows here. One of my favorite shows during the pandemic last year, Mr. Joe Exotic himself. He's back. Tiger King 2. He's coming back for a second season. I think this one's only a quick 4 episode season. I don't know how much more you could say, right? He's been in jail since then. I mean, Carol Baskin is still out there doing her
But
thing.
she's not part of it though. She was complaining about this Tiger
I
King thing.
I don't know. I think what I saw, I mean, it wasn't really much of a trailer. It was just kind of like little snippets. Didn't really reveal all that much, but Carol Baskin was in it. So, I mean, I'm sure
Oh, okay.
she's probably going to be talked about. She might not be interviewed on it like she was in the first season. Who knows?
Okay. Oh,
But
she might
whatever
not
it
be
is,
happy how they portrayed what she did. Like she might not be, because she did
yeah,
turn out to be a villain.
yeah,
After
yeah, yeah,
everybody was
more
like,
so than anybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, she wasn't likable. And didn't she
but
do Dancing with the Stars or something?
she did. She did do Dance with the Stars. Yeah, I mean, it's such an entertaining show with just the crazy characters that are throughout it. I'm sure it's going to be good. Whatever they end up doing, I'm sure it's going to be entertaining as hell.
Big Meat Soul.
Um,
He loves Joe Exotic. Uh,
it
I,
was, it
I,
was,
it was talked about either on TV, on the radio shows there, or a podcast I was listening to. I know they were talking about it, and I don't know. Could they talk to Joe Exotic in jail? Like, did they interview him there, or is this more they talking to his husbands or boyfriend?
um, there was one short little clip on the trailer. It wasn't even really a trailer. It was just like a really quick teaser, and it did show him on like a Zoom meeting, like in jail, like
Oh,
like
okay,
and
okay.
he's got the phone up to his ear, and he's like, and that's yeah. So I think they do actually talk to him like at some point like that. So we'll see, we'll see. I mean, you can't have Tiger King 2 without Joe Exotic, right? He's got to be in it.
Okay. That's exciting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's another one that's coming out. I don't know exactly when that's coming out, but I'm sure it's coming out soon.
So when's Hawkeye? You didn't say that. When's Hawkeye coming?
Hawkeye, I know that's in November. I know that's
November.
that's a couple months away. So
Okay. So we got some time.
yeah, yep, yep. And they have like, judging by the trailer, to go back to Hawkeye, they have a little bit of a Christmas theme to it. So it's kind of like
The
throughout
holiday season.
the holiday season. Yeah, it looks like a holiday based show. Um, we did briefly touch on Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
That's supposed to come out in December, but I think that might have been delayed, so it might come after that. So that's another big show that's coming out. Um, Stranger Things 4, right? I mean, the first one was great, second one meh, third one got a little better. Another season of Stranger Things coming out. That's always a good show to talk about. Cobra Kai season 4. That's another big one. I think that's coming out end of December. I think last year it came out like on New Year's Eve or so, right? On New
Yeah,
Year's
yeah.
Day, like
Like right around that time.
around there.
Right in the holiday season, like right at the end of it or something
Yep.
to that effect. Yeah.
And the trailer for that is out, and they have confirmed they're bringing back Terry Silver's character from the third Karate Kid movie, the guy with the ponytail. So
Nice.
he's in it. So they brought him back as like another villain. Um, a show that I don't know if you've watched it, Azar, but it's been a really good show. It's called Ozark.
I haven't watched it. Yeah,
really
it's like
good.
it's like a Breaking Bad type
It's
of
like
story,
this
right?
generation's version of Breaking Bad. Very similar, kind of similar premise, but really good. Really highly recommended. You got to watch Ozark. So season 4, that's also coming out. Uh, I know you're going to be happy about this, Azar. The Witcher season 2 is coming out.
I need a good sleep.
Yeah.
I need to relax and get a good night's sleep. So
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that's coming out in December, and the trailer is out for that too, Azar. If you want to just Google that up, and you
All
know,
right.
if you want to get excited for it, get excited for it. And then also last one that I want to mention, it's not a show, it's a movie, but it was such a great movie that came out last year with Chris Hemsworth, Extraction, Part 2. So that's really that's the full list. I did actually want to mention one show that I'm actually currently watching now that's really good. And if you're a wrestling fan, you're gonna love this show. I know Jarvis, if he was on, I'm sure I would recommend it to him, and he probably is already watching it. It's on Stars, and it's called Heels. Heels. I don't watch anything on Stars. This thing just kind of came up, and I said, how the heck am I going to watch this on Stars? I had to kind of find a loophole to get through like some. I think it's on Amazon Prime, but then if you have like Sling, you could actually they offer Stars for free through that, so you could kind of watch it through that. So I had to kind of find my way through to watch the show.
Geez. Okay.
There's still a couple of episodes left in the season. It's a 9 episode season, or 8 episode season. I think I've gone through 6 episodes so far, and it's called Heels. And it's, if for the non-wrestling fans out there, a heel is what they call a villain in professional wrestling, right? So there's a face, which is like the hero, and the heels, which are the villains, basically.
Yeah.
And it's got the guy from that played in Arrow on the CW channel there,
Okay.
together with the
Yep.
Flash, so he's in it. Another guy's in it. I mean, it's pretty hardcore, right? There's a lot of swearing, a lot of nudity, right? It's no side boob this time. It's actually full on nudity.
All right. All right.
Um, it's entertaining as hell. And you know who's actually in it? And he plays one of the wrestlers that are in their like local wrestling club. James Harrison, big James Harrison from the Steelers. Remember James Harrison played for the
Yeah.
Patriots for a season? Yeah, he's in it, which is kind of funny. It's just like you see him on screen. I'm like, I didn't even know he even wanted to be an actor. But
Yeah.
there he is. He's on the show. They'll bring back some old wrestlers too to make cameos. Like CM Punk was in it. Mick Foley, who played like Mankind. He was in one of the episodes. So
Oh, nice.
it's really good. Like I said, if you whether you like wrestling or not, my wife watches it. She doesn't watch any wrestling, and she's enjoying the show. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. If you're looking to watch another show until those other shows come around, Heels on Stars is definitely something you should check out.
Oh, I canceled my Stars. I would have to see if I can sign up for it again. It's not that expensive. I just wasn't watching anything on it. It's been so long
Yeah.
since I watched anything on Stars. And they used to have some good shows, but I got kind of
Hmm.
bored with their. I was like, I got so many streaming platforms. I'm not wasting. I had to make some cuts. I was like, I'm not gonna keep something I don't use at all. But
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. Heels. I like the name because it makes sense. Like it actually relates to the characters. That's
Heels.
good.
Yeah. It's they really talk about kind of like the the backstory or like the behind the scenes stuff when it comes to like wrestling. And now this is about a show about a small wrestling club or whatever. But I'm telling you, it's good. There's good action. There's a good story to it. It kind of reminds me a little bit like um I'm trying. What's that show? Well, a little bit like The Boys in a way, but obviously not superheroes, but just wrestlers. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's kind of like that kind of humor and that kind of hardcore language that they say. There's one character in it that just like the shit he says. It's like you'll just die laughing.
Okay.
He's kind of like he plays kind of like a Jake the Snake Roberts type of character,
Okay.
and
Okay.
he's phenomenal. He's
Nice.
phenomenal.
Nice. You mentioned the boys. Isn't the boys coming up with the season 3?
They are. They are. But although I just haven't heard anything on a trailer or
They're
when
in the
it's coming
commercial.
out.
When Amazon does commercials, they always show like highlights of the boys. Like there's like glimpses of them when they mix up with all the other shows that they have
Right.
on Amazon. And there's 2 shows. One that I'm excited about is that prequel to the Game of Thrones. There's more and more noise coming about. Like
Hmm.
you see more stuff about that. And then I swear I thought Amazon was dropping a whole Lord of the Rings series, like this like
Mm,
super expensive, like heavily invested series that was supposed to come. So, but surprisingly, it's very quiet. I haven't heard anything from that. I wonder
yeah.
if it's all delayed because of COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like we're finally back in the full swing of entertainment. Um, and that's which is going to lead us to our next topic is basically sports. I mean, basically NFL feels like it's back. Like football is back to normal.
Mm.
Full stadiums, like everything feels back to normal. Like I
Yes,
know
it
COVID is
does.
still out there, but it's what we're seeing in the college stadiums, which is awesome to see. And now, just you could definitely tell. Like I know they were pumping the noise, and they were making the best out of it with the situation that was presented to them. But
Hmm.
the games are so much more different with the fans. Like it is night and day. Like
Oh yeah.
I was watching that Rams game versus Tampa and the crowd noise and how loud it was and how much and that was there and it was interesting when the when the announcer was saying that this is the first game Brady had to deal with crowd noise because most of his last season there was no crowd. It was all like
Right.
in that stadium gets so loud that they had to practice silent counts and all that for the first time. So I was like, wow, I didn't even think about how that could be impacting players that are just,
Hmm.
rookies that started last year. They didn't deal with crowd noise. They just basically just played. So that is just what a totally different dynamic. And I wonder
Mm.
if that's kind of leading into football is some of the rookies that have come up this season, all the hype around them. Like we talked about the draft. We focus so much on the draft and all these quarterbacks and all the excitement around them. They're playing like shit. And I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, wow, I wonder if they're just not used to the element now. It's been so long, like just
Right.
COVID, getting used to their like this element of crowd noise and all that. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just something seems so off because were the experts so wrong on all these rookie quarterbacks because they look
Mm.
atrocious. I mean,
Yeah, I think we got spoiled with certain like younger rookie or younger quarterbacks over the last few years. Justin Herbert, right? They just came out of the gate like going crazy, and then last year,
Burrow.
and then Burrows, right? And then even Mahomes, like a few years back. I know he was like in his second year when he really took off, but it's like you kind of expect these rookie quarterbacks that are more NFL ready to start and just go nuts, and we just haven't seen it. We haven't seen one quarterback really shine. Um, before the last game, it was kind of Mac Jones was like the guy that everybody was looking at. It was like, well, he looks like he looks better than the other quarterbacks, but then he had a bad game the last game. So it's just yeah,
But he's still out of the class. He's still doing
he's still the
better
best. Yeah,
out of the
yeah.
class.
Granted, a
Uh,
couple of them haven't really played. They're not really the starters, so they just kind of throw them in there every once in a while for like
well,
a,
Justin
a
Fields
trick play.
had a chance to play and looked awful. Like he got crushed.
Yeah,
Fields
but Trey
he started.
Lance hasn't.
No, Trey Lance isn't. But Garoppolo is actually playing well. So,
Yeah.
and I was watching that game. I was telling this to somebody, one of my coworkers. When I was watching Garoppolo throw the ball, and I was watching Rodgers throw the ball, I don't know if you noticed, but like Rodgers just throws it up in the air, and he's spot on. Like he does put it in a position, but I feel like he's throwing these ducks. And Devontae Adam is because he's like a freak athlete is outplaying the corners and getting the balls. Like to
Right.
me, it's like those balls look like anybody's ball. Like it's not like he's dropping these dimes on the run. Like
Yeah, yeah,
some of those
yeah.
throws looked weak, and I'm like, man, this is like Peyton Manning-ish. Like I remember those like ducks.
He's
Like those,
chucking the ball up there and
yeah,
just hoping for the best.
yeah. Like oh, let's hope there's a pass interference. But Devontae Adams is such a freak athlete that he goes and turns around, catches it, like twisting his whole body, and I'm like, he's amazing to watch. But then I'm watching Garoppolo throw the ball. I'm like, Garoppolo's throwing the ball better. Like he's just throwing these lasers across the. He's not as good, obviously, as Rodgers or anything, but I don't know. I was watching
Yeah.
Garoppolo play. I'm like, he's actually a functional quarterback compared to
Hmm.
out there
Yeah.
with what I'm seeing in the NFL. Like they're,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, maybe it's just the style of play. Like they're just, one's more of a gunslinger, and Garoppolo is kind of a disciple of Tom Brady and Belichick, right? It's all about, being accurate and being consistent. And Rodgers is more like, no, I'm going to use my athleticism. I'm going to try to use my strong arm to get plays down the field. Maybe he sees one-on-one battles more so, and he's like, hey, I'm going to give my receiver a chance. Where Garoppolo's like, I ain't going to risk it.
yeah,
First of all, I don't have any receiver like Devontae Adams on my team to allow me to do that. But even if I did, I'm probably just going to play it more safe because I don't want to turn the ball over. So
yeah.
it's just it's the whole like risk reward thing between the two quarterbacks. It's just two styles of plays. I don't think it means one is better than the other or whatever. It's just it's the gunslinger mentality.
Well, he's got the Brett
That's
Favre.
Brett Favre.
He's
Yeah,
looking like Brett Favre as he gets
yeah,
older. I'm like, well, this
yeah.
is kind of Brett Favre-ish. Or there was it week one or I think it was week one. Rogers is escaping, a sack, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna try to make a play anyways. I'm gonna be like half tackled, half this. I'm just gonna chuck it. And I'm like, what are you doing? But you're right. Maybe it is a Brett Favre syndrome. Like as soon as you get
Mm.
older, you're just like, well, I'm gonna make a play. Like I'm gonna do
It's it
something.
it is funny. I remember they interviewed Favre a couple of years ago. I think when they were doing the top 100 players of all time or whatever, and they're interviewing him, and Brett Favre was just like, he admitted, he's like, look, when I played, he's like, I didn't really know the playbook. He's like, I wasn't out there thinking. I'm just out there just see receiver, I throw it, and I'm just trying to make plays, and he like just admitted it. He's just like, I don't know what the hell I was doing out there half the
Oh
time,
God, that's
and it's just
frightening.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it just kind of goes to show you it's just some people can do it just off the cuff, just using their athleticism, and maybe that's a little bit like Rodgers. That's why he's just whatever. I'll make plays. I don't need to know the playbook inside and out.
yeah. It's just funny. But the reason I brought it up is I was watching Garoppolo, and I know he's not the future for San Fran, and he might get traded next year. But I think he'll be a functional quarterback on the right team. I think he'll do a good job. Now, again, is he from a fantasy perspective? I don't think Garoppolo will ever be like that fantasy quarterback
Mm-mm.
people will go after. Like I just think he's a good NFL quarterback, but definitely not a good fantasy quarterback.
No.
He's just a game manager at the end of the day. He reminds me more of like a Joe Flacco. I'll get the job done, but
Yeah.
you're not going to
Yeah.
really win. I mean, he had that one year where he won. He did really well as a fantasy quarterback, but other than that, it'll be a real outlier if Garoppolo ever
No.
emerges as a fantasy relevant. Now let's go back to the Patriots. 3 weeks into the season, it's been pretty rough as a Patriots fan
Hmm.
sitting there, and I think the biggest disappointment it's not Mac Jones
Nope.
as much as everybody on the radio wants it to be, or blame, or this is an indictment on Belichick because that's everything. Because that's what you know. That's the Felger take. Everything is about just attacking Belichick at this point. That offensive line is
Mm.
brutal, and I get there's injuries. I get that, but the whole line is brutal. Like no one is stepping up. Like Mac Jones feels like he's running for his life, and then our defense is. I thought that was going to be the bright spot of our team. Like I remember we were talking about it where I said if our defense sucks, Mac Jones is screwed because if he's got to play from behind, you're going to expect him to play catch up with a high potent offense. We're
Yeah.
screwed. And I was like, no, it's unlikely because our defense is that good. I thought we had solid linebackers. I know our corners were iffy, but I thought we had a great front line. We had good
Hmm.
linebackers. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. I thought that's what you were going to say first before you mentioned the offensive line, because the offensive line has been okay. I think a lot of those sacks that Mac Jones is and those are just rookie,
Holding the ball too
holding the
long.
ball too
Yeah.
long, right? I mean, you look at Tom Brady's rookie year or second year, he got sacked a lot too, and then he learned to get the ball off quickly, and then he was like one of the least sacked quarterbacks throughout his career. And in the running game, like at times, right, you see some openings and they're doing well, but that front seven on that defense is just so disappointing. That was supposed to be their strength, and they can't stop the run. They cannot stop the
Again.
run. And there's like
Again.
guys like they can't do.
Yeah.
And they had all these guys that they picked up. Now Judon looked great. Judon looks fantastic. I mean, he's like
Only,
their
only player that stands out is Judon
he's
on
the
that
only
team.
guy every time I see a play on the field, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's Judon. It's Judon again. So
Yeah.
he's a good pass rusher, something they haven't had in so long. But yeah, their front seven, like that was supposed to be their strength, and I just haven't seen it. That first game, I mean, I know that when they lost to Miami, I know they fumbled. They should have won that game, but you got to give up even that many points to Tua, and that offense. It's just they shouldn't even have gone to that point. That second game, speaking of awful rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson is just
Case in point. Yeah.
awful, 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 awful. And when Pats, they get like 4 picks off of him, and they're all easy picks. It wasn't like anything that to really do all that much to beat the Jets. And then just looking completely lost against New Orleans. It's just it has not been good, and they've done this now against um, Tua, Zach Wilson, and Jameis Winston.
That's the more frightening thing about it is
Yeah,
they haven't really faced like a
no,
really good quarterback. I mean, I know Brady's coming to town, and that's the true. Like that's gonna hurt because he's on a real team. They have a real quarterback managing that team. I, my expectation is very low.
it's very low indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing that I told someone, and because they're a Buffalo Bills fan, so like I wouldn't say this to a Patriots fan, but I'd say it on the podcast. To me, I was thinking you got to get Judon tell him, look, I don't care if you get a personal foul, hit Brady, hit him, knock him down, just
Yeah.
take the penalty because you got to rattle him. If no one rattles him, and I have a fear that front seven is not going to do any damage. It's like, it's Jordan, get back there. If
Yeah.
you're close to him, even if the whistle, hit him, take him out, not injure him. I'm not saying you injure Tom Brady, but you got to rattle him because if he gets too comfortable back there,
Yeah. Pick
he
you
is going to
apart.
decimate us, and it's
Yeah.
going to be an ugly game real fast. And
I mean, Belichick just has to get really creative on defense to figure out a way to rattle him. I mean, Brady's too good to be able to blitz him and think like you're gonna fool him, and he's gonna pick you apart if you try to send too many guys at you. You need those front four that you have really to like put pressure on him. And if it is Judon, it's Judon. It's got to be somebody. Somebody's got to step up. And like I said, unless Belichick gets really creative on the defensive side, and
yeah,
he knows Brady better than anybody. So who knows? That would be their only saving grace for me. That
but
would be the
but
only chance for them to win.
but you saw what the Rams did, and again, it's the same thing when you have a strong
Yeah,
defense that can get in there and keep Brady keep him from
yeah.
being comfortable. You
Well, the
saw,
Rams could do that.
yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, and I know that, like, you would think the Patriots have the talent, not as good. I mean, yeah, they don't have the big names like some of the Rams players do, but if they can get in there and do anything like what the Rams could do, you see it. Like anytime Brady is pressured, gets hit hard, sacked hard, he'll make erratic throws. Like, but I am my confidence, can they do it,
mm,
is not there. Now, if you really want to keep it interesting, is can the Patriots exploit the weak secondary of Tampa because they're injured? They lost
hmm
a couple more starters last week.
yeah,
Can we exploit it? And right now, they haven't pushed Mac Jones to make big plays, and our tight ends are useless. I don't know what the hell what we're paying them.
yeah. Oh yeah, Hunter
There,
Henry is
there,
just
there's John Smith
lost.
playing
Yeah,
volleyball with the football. Just let me just
yeah,
tap it up in the air. Which again, everybody was
yeah.
like shitting on
He's
Mac
done that a
Jones.
couple times. John Smith has done that a couple times where he's
That's
like
your
dropped
boy.
easy passes. Yeah, I
That's your
know
boy.
he was my boy. He
Oh,
was my
now what?
boy.
So he's already
With
shut down. He's already out.
Well, yeah. Well, he's a big physical tight end. You would expect a little bit more out of him. They're just all their free agent signings just doesn't seem like none of them are really panning out except for Judon. But
Well, Bourne emerged last week,
yeah, first time he's
but
been
he
kind
hasn't
of
really been in there.
invisible.
He hasn't been in there, and
Yeah.
Damon Harris had glimmers. Um, yeah, but overall, just not a.
No, no. And who knows? Maybe it's the Patriot way of like starting off slow and then they get better and better as the season goes on, and they're gonna be fine towards the end of the season. That's kind of what you're hoping, or else otherwise it's gonna be another long season for the Patriots.
Yeah.
And the Buccaneers did pick up Richard Sherman, so I don't know if he's gonna play. It might be too early for him to play this weekend, but they did kind of bring in a little bit of help to kind
I
of
think
shore up
I
that
think
secondary.
they're desperate. I think he will be out there. They are
Yeah.
desperate. And
They're just gonna say throw him out there and just say, here, you cover whoever Myers, like whoever the
yeah,
Patriots best receiver is. Just cover him one on one. That's it. Just do your thing.
all that
So
money
who
spent,
knows?
and you just said Myers, cover our best receivers.
Yeah,
Myers,
right. Well, I was gonna say Aguilar, and I'm like,
nah,
has
not
he been the
really.
best receiver? No, it's Myers. It's Myers.
I
He's
honestly
the guy.
thought, I know John Smith was no Travis Kelsey, but I thought in this offense they were gonna our tight ends were gonna be the highlight of the offense, and I don't feel like they're even being showcased at all. Like, I don't
Yeah,
see it.
yeah. You were thinking heavily targeted, like lots of targets to the tight end. Like you're just not seeing it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
again, you have two competent tight ends that would like open up the defense or open up the offense because the defense has to focus on these guys,
yeah.
but they're not even relevant, and it's a shame. So I thought they would mask the weakness of our receivers because we had two like big name tight ends, but not so good, not so good.
No,
But if he upsets Tampa, I don't care what anybody says. Greatest coach. I don't. The argument's over. Like if he can rattle Brady, and I don't care about the Super Bowl, if he can somehow
So of
put this
all the
team,
Super Bowls that
no,
he's
no, no,
won, of
no, no,
all the major upsets that he's had over the
no,
years with like the Rams and everybody
no,
else,
no, no,
like
no, no,
this
no,
is
no,
it. This is what's gonna
no,
put him
no.
over the top for you.
He's getting dogged because Tom Brady won a Super Bowl without him, right? So there's been a lot of Belichick bashing. And again, I know this is like Jarvis Radio, like the Felger takes and all these things and whatever, just to make noise. I get it. But I'm like, really, you guys are shitting on this guy? Like that's it. All of a sudden, like he's not relevant.
Mm,
And I know Asante Samuel is on a road show right now, just bashing Belichick and making it. This is all about Brady, nothing to do with Belichick. But if Belichick can take this underperforming team and can go and punch Brady
yeah,
in the mouth and just stop them and make it a competitive game, even if they lose, but it's a really competitive game where
right.
Tampa's fighting, I'd be impressed. Like, all right, there's hope.
It
I
would be
guess
impressive. Yeah,
I'd say there's hope, right? Like this might not be the year, but Belichick's got something. Like where
right.
something's brewing, we got something happening. So I'm
Yeah,
trying to be optimistic because I
yeah.
just
Well, like I said, I mean, Belichick knows Brady better than anybody. So if he understands some things about Brady that nobody else does, and he kind of knows his weaknesses, right? I mean, then they have a chance. They have a chance then. But they just have too many weapons. I mean, is Antonio Brown back? Right, he's back now, right?
still
He's
in
going to
COVID.
play. Is
So
he still in COVID? I mean, even
I,
for a couple more days before they play on Sunday, they could
yeah,
be
I don't
cleared.
know. I thought
So
they were all vaccinated, so I'm not sure why he's locked down for COVID. But he maybe he got it again. But
I don't
um,
know. I don't know. But between if he does play, and then you still got Godwin and Evans and Gronk, and Gronk is kind of beat up, right? He got hit hard that last game, and who knows
well,
if he's gonna play.
we
But
were fortunate they played the Rams the week before because the Rams were really physical with that.
yeah,
Um, and I don't think they have Gio Bernard. I think so. That means Ronald Jones is probably going to be back more in the lineup this week
yeah, yeah.
because Gio, I think, was it
Got
his
hit
knee?
hard towards I think it was
Yeah,
his knee or thigh, or yeah. He
yeah,
was. I
something happened to
remember
him.
when he scored that touchdown, he was kind
Yeah,
of
and you
clutching
could,
his leg.
and Gronk was, you could tell a little bit rattled from that hit that he got.
Yeah,
And that was a hard hit. That was a big brutal hit on him.
yeah, yeah.
So, but the Rams, and this will lead into the fantasy. We're talking about. I want to talk about the biggest busts. I want to go look back at our draft and just look at the first two rounds because our draft is kind of consistent with what we saw in mock drafts. But man, I'm going to tell you, the Rams. I know you were crapping on them, and I was giving you grief yesterday about it. They're looking good.
They
They're
are
looking
looking
good.
good. They are looking good. I don't know if I was completely serious about that.
Oh, here it comes.
No.
Here it
Listen, I don't
comes.
mean to. I
Here
don't
it
mean to.
comes.
I don't mean to. I don't want to take snake on you there, Azar.
Yeah.
But it's more about me ragging on you more than anything. But no, I mean, look, I drafted the Rams defense. I mean, they were the first defense taken in the draft. I took them fairly early, whatever, seventh, eighth round or whatever. So I was high on the Rams defense. I just was kind of shitting a little bit more on Robert Woods and a little bit on Matthew Stafford or whatever. But they're
Yeah.
playing great
There you go. There you go.
offensively.
Yep.
They're playing great. They're playing great. So you can't change that. And I know they had an injury to their running back before the season started, right? Who was the running back that got injured? Who's out for the
Um.
season? That
Oh,
Cam Akers, right?
yes. Yep.
So they had high expectations with him. So it was just kind of like, are they really gonna like rely on Stafford to come in? He's gonna be the savior, and it's like I thought their offense was gonna falter a little bit, but hey, Stafford's been playing at an MVP level, and for them to go and beat the Buccaneers, that's huge. That's huge of them.
Well,
Maybe they are legit.
that makes them the fact they beat the Super Bowl champ and everybody was saying pretty much Tampa is the team to beat, right? Because they brought everybody back.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
kept
Well,
like
I looked at the power rankings. I forget. I think it was either ESPN or NFL, and they had the Rams number one. The
yeah.
Rams are first in power rankings right now in the NFL. So
Well, they were all in. I mean, and I think on the broadcast, um, uh, what's his name? What was the broadcast on that Saturday? Oh man, I'm forgetting their names. But anyways, they were talking about how much they don't have a first round pick until 2024. I think is the next time they get a
yeah,
first round pick. So they're all in, and
Oh, and their salary, they're going to be in salary cap hell. After this year, going into next year, and after that, I mean, they're not going to be able to resign players or do anything. This is it. This is the year they got to
yeah,
do it.
and I think the way they look, they I mean, the teams in the AFC, the threats like Mahomes and them, Kansas City doesn't look like a real threat this year.
Mm,
They're 1-2. Shockingly, they're not even leading their division. I think they're last in their division. I think
yeah,
Las
yeah, they
Vegas is
are.
doing better than them.
They are.
So it's crazy. It's crazy. So they're the Rams are a real pleasant surprise, like how well they're doing.
Mm.
But
Isn't
let's
that
talk about
crazy? All the big teams like over the last like 20 years consistently, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Chiefs, like
the
they're all
Colts.
just the Col
Yeah,
like they're all just like
gone.
it's a whole crop of new teams now that are popping up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even I was listening today that on a podcast they were talking about Baker Mayfield. It looks like he's finally getting command of his offense. Like the Browns defense looks
Yeah.
better. I'm like, is it possible? Is it possible the
Could
Browns
this
might
be
be
the
contending?
Browns year?
Yeah, because in the AFC East I, right now it's Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo. I
That's
mean,
it.
other than that first game, the last couple of weeks they put a pounding on their
Hmm.
opponents. It's like they got their crap together. Uh, I would say Buffalo right now. I still think their running game is shit, but I think their defense is okay. And Josh Allen is, I guess he must be the real deal. He's looking
Yeah.
good, and I think Diggs' numbers aren't even that outstanding so far for
Mm.
fantasy. Like I don't even think he's killing it. So he's winning without just Diggs. I
Right.
think Emmanuel Sanders, if I'm not mistaken, is actually the one getting the touchdowns
Yeah.
on the Bills. Man, wherever he goes, he has like such a positive impact on a team. That is amazing. A guy like Emmanuel
He
Sanders
does.
been in the
I
league
know.
for a long
Still,
time, and
I know. He just doesn't disappear. He's just like
no,
still around kicking.
yeah, and I think Tennessee is a team that's big disappointment when you think
Yep.
about like when you have Julio went on, you have Brown as the receivers. You're like, this was the year. We're like, oh, they got two good weapons, and then they have Derrick Henry and their team not so good, not so good
Right.
this year. So
Right. Yeah. What happened to like Tannehill, right? I mean, everyone's kind of like, oh, this is the next big year. He's going to come through. It's been the Cardinals, Arizona, right? They've been great. The
yeah,
Rams have been great. Um,
I think
uh,
Seattle is doing well. And so the NFC West is really like dominating right now. And
yeah, I mean, well, the Raiders and the Broncos are both 3-0, but
well, the Broncos are AFC.
well, I'm just
Oh,
saying
I'm
I'm
sorry,
going through
AFC. I'm sorry. I'm
I'm
sorry.
going just through like the
The
list of,
West.
of teams that are really good. Like the Panthers are 3-0. I don't know. Like are these teams the real deal, right? Or are we just kind of fooling ourselves to think like the
Those are mirage.
Buccaneers are
Those are
still
mirages. Yeah.
yeah, right? I mean
I
you
think Dallas
still
is. I think Dallas will be a threat to them.
yeah, I think so too. Dallas could be easily be 3-0 right now. I mean
Yeah.
Dallas could really be surprising people, right? But the Packers are still they're gonna be in it. They're gonna be good. No, the Seahawks are 1-2.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're 1-2. Yeah. I mean, those are the only undefeated teams
Uh,
right now. The
I
Broncos,
I'm thinking with
Raiders.
the way Tyler Lockett was scoring all those points. I thought that they were winning the way he was putting
Mm,
up points. Oh, my bad.
yeah, yeah. I think right now the Cardinals and the Rams, and they're both in the NFC West. They're both 3-0, and they're looking like two of the best teams in the league right now.
What's the 49ers record?
They're 2-1.
They're
They're
two
two
and
and
one.
one.
Okay.
So it's yes, and the Seahawks are last. They're one and
Yeah,
two.
I
So
didn't.
yeah,
Okay, that's interesting. All right, I had them a little mixed up, but overall, it's been an interesting season so far. AFC looks like it's the weaker division, like our conference.
oh
NFC
yeah,
looks like the powerhouses are there.
yeah. I
So
couldn't even tell you. Like maybe it's the Bills. They're 2-1. Like who's the favorite in the AFC?
I, I
I don't
thought
know.
I thought it would be like the Bills, Tennessee, where like some names that I thought would be good were going to be good this year. Um, but right now, Bills are the only ones that really stand out in my mind, like
Right?
popping in my head.
Right. I don't think the Raiders or the Broncos. I don't think they're the real deal. I think they're both 3-0. I don't think they're really gonna.
Colts
They're
are a big
gonna. You
disappointment.
know.
Oh,
Yep.
you know what a team not to sleep on would be Minnesota. I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota goes far into makes it into the playoffs. Actually, um, wins that division over Green Bay
Mm,
because Detroit, Chicago, they're not going to really go anywhere. And I think Green Bay, I don't know. I don't know if they have the defense to really carry. That defense is really a lot. It's a lot worse than I thought it would be this year.
Yeah.
I thought it would be somewhat better. Um, it's back to like winning it on Rodgers' arm, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not counting out the Chiefs. I know they're 1-2. I think the Chiefs are gonna go on a roll, and they're just too good of an offense to keep it at this pace. Mahomes is too good. Yeah, the Chiefs are going to be in the mix by the season's end. So you're looking at the Chiefs, the Bills in the AFC, maybe the Ravens. I mean, they look good when they beat the Chiefs, coming back down like 10 points or whatever, and Lamar Jackson's like looking, stronger and stronger. He's looking like he's back to his old self again.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, there's no teams that really stand out like in the NFC. The NFC is where like the best teams are.
yeah, I
You
agree.
know,
I agree. Well, let's
so
for the sake of time, let's go through it. I'm going to go through our first round,
yeah.
and you tell me bust or playing up to where he was drafted.
Hmm.
Christian McCaffrey, other than his injury,
Yeah. If
he
you
was
discount, yeah, he
yeah.
was doing great before his injury. Yeah,
Derrick Henry went second, which we were surprised he went second, but I think he's been playing up to
sure.
his expectation
Yeah,
amazingly. Like you keep asking when is he going to break down, but he's definitely been playing like a number 2 pick. Dalvin Cook,
I think. Well, he didn't play the last game,
he
but
got
I think
injured.
he's been good. Right?
Yeah.
He's been good the first couple of games.
Yeah, and that's the risk with them. He was always an injury risk, but you weren't going to pass on him because he was so good. But I'm not shocked he's injured already, but he was playing up to speed, like what you
Yeah.
wanted from Dalvin Cook. Ezekiel Elliott,
So
number
I
4.
would have said bust if we had this podcast a week ago.
Yeah. Yep. I'm
He
with you.
came back strong. I mean, he had 95 yards rushing just on 17 carries, but he had two rushing touchdowns. He also added 21 receiving yards. So he had a good game. 23.6 fantasy points in the last game. And even the week before that, he still had 71 yards and a touchdown. So it's not like he's bad. He's not bad. The first game was pretty terrible for him, the one against Tampa. But I think the issue with Ezekiel Elliott right now is that they're giving the ball to Tony Pollard more and more. And
Yeah.
so it's becoming a little bit more of like a running back by committee, a little bit like uh, Chubb and Hunt. You know what I mean? Like you could have both those guys touch the ball and still be productive. He might fall into that category. So you might not see the 300 carries the 300 carry season again from Zeke. You're not going to see that huge monster season, but he's still going to be productive. Is he worth the fourth overall pick? I don't know. I don't
Uh,
know. That's a tough one. I wouldn't call him a bust, but he's
where he's
not.
drafted, if to your point, if this turns into be a backfield by committee and he only has limited touches, but
Yeah.
he ran when you watched because we saw it live. He looked slow in that first game. Second
Mm,
game, he was okay. That third game, he looked like he was running angry. Like he
yeah.
looked like the Elliott that we know. So maybe Pollard would get, like because we saw him get less carries in this game, and he was never really out touched by Pollard, but Pollard was making more with his carries.
He looked better.
Yeah, he was making more out of it than what
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott was. So maybe Elliott's finally got his legs, and maybe he's gonna turn that dial. So we'll see next
Hmm.
week. But if things keep going the way they were the first 2 weeks, then it'll be definitely a bust because you drafted him fourth, and if he's gonna be
Yeah.
sharing time and but he looked good last week. So I wish I asked to trade for him earlier. Like I was ready to give up on him. Nick
Hmm.
Chubb, number 5.
He's been solid,
Yep,
consistent.
not a shock. Kamara, he had one bad game, but
He had one really bad game. Yeah, he had
yeah,
like 5 yards that game. But
yeah,
other than that, he's been good. Other than
yeah,
that one game.
yeah. He's gonna have off games, especially. I think that was a Jameis Winston. That whole game was a disaster.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, um,
Yeah. Other than that first game, which was very similar to what Kamara did that second game, those
yeah,
last two games, he's been great.
yeah,
He's been fantastic. Yeah, he had 4 touchdowns in one of those games. Like last week, he scored a
and
touchdown. So he's
and
been
that's
good.
Aaron Jones. He disappears a week, and then he'll have 4 touchdowns a week. Like that seems to be kind of like his surprisingly. Like you never thought about him as being like this
Yeah.
big name running back, but he has these big games that just come out of nowhere. All right, this is gonna hurt you, Big Meat. Tyreek Hill. So far, not worth the 8th pick. Like he's,
No,
I know
well,
it's coming.
yeah.
I know it's coming, but right now it's not been living up to the expectation.
No, that first game against Cleveland, he was phenomenal, right? I mean, he had 197 receiving yards and a touchdown. I mean, he was just, but the last 2 weeks, he's kind of disappeared a little bit. 56 yards. He did lose a fumble that game. But in terms of fantasy points, not good. He had 4.7 points this last game. The game before that, he had 2.9 points. Not strong at all. But the week before the first game, he had 26.10 points. So
Yeah.
it kind of balances out, but the consistency is certainly not there. So would you consider him, he's 1 out of 3 now in those games. I guess you could say he's a bust
Well,
so far after 3 games.
so right now, if I had the choice, if I was the Shadows and Assassins on our league, who is Shadows Assassin? Is that
That's
is, is that Antifa
Antifa.
boy?
That's
Okay, okay.
Antifa. Yeah.
So Antifa boy.
The one that assassinated the shadow, the
I
shadow cat.
I just want to make sure I was reading that right. Okay, so I think it maybe you might have been better off going with Devontae Adams based off of history. I don't know. Like Devontae Adams probably is panning out to probably be the better pick so far, as would have been the wiser choice.
He's more consistent. Yeah, Adams has been more consistent.
Yeah,
I would say.
So,
but
out of the top 3, because there's him, Diggs, or Tyreek.
Right.
Right now, Adams is living up more to an 8th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to take the first receiver, but that's again, it's still early. We're not even in a quarter of the season yet, so we're just kind of doing this so far.
Yeah. The early. Yeah.
And this one I'm ashamed to say because I have this player. This is me who picked this guy. Huge bust right now. 3 weeks, no touchdown, timeshare situation. I'm borderline as someone who has him in his fantasy. Like Jonathan Taylor is a bust to me, and he's almost at the point where another bad week like this, he's probably going to be on my bench. I can't trust him. Like he's costing me points where I could be flexing in another receiver or a mediocre back and would have had better luck than him. He's a big disappointment. I had such high expectations for Jonathan Taylor. And some mock drafts had him going even higher. Like, getting him in the 9th isn't a huge investment, but if someone took him 5th or 6th, like some mock drafts, they would have been screwed. That's just.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it makes a big difference because I don't think they've been playing Marlon Mack a lot. I don't even think he was even.
He's asked for a trade. They've already
to be traded.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think he was even activated the last game. So I don't know if they trade him, if it makes that much of a difference with Taylor's numbers if they get better.
No, it's not him. It's Hines. It's the timeshare with Hines. Hines is getting the passing back. Like Jonathan Taylor is maybe like a 2-down back, and then Hines comes in and he's not even getting throws. Like he's not adding. I don't know. Right. I don't know what it is. It's just Wentz sucks. He's all done. Yeah. I think this is his last year in the league. He's just terrible. He can't stay healthy.
Things could be worse, Azar. You could have Barkley. It's the last pick of the first round there.
But you know what? I think we kind of were nervous with Barkley because of his health.
Yeah. But he's healthy.
Yeah.
He's healthy and he's still, and they're 0-3, and it's like they're basically gonna start tanking. Like after a couple more losses, they're gonna be like, "The hell are we doing?" Let's try to get a top 3 pick in the draft next year, and maybe I don't know what they're gonna do with Barkley if he doesn't turn things around here, because this would be like the 3rd year now in a row. Despite his injuries, he hasn't really shown much since his rookie year. So yeah, I would say just to kind of look at the first round there. Jonathan Taylor, I would say bust. Barkley, bust. And that's probably it. I won't even say Tyreek Hill. I know he was
I'm with you. I would say so. That's not bad. 2 out of 10.
Yeah, and it's the last 2 of the first round. So
which are
it's odd.
Yeah.
It's odd that it's like there's always like that one guy like early in the early draft that's like, what happened to this guy? Like, why isn't he doing anything? But everyone's been kind of consistent, and like you said, it's been early. It's only 3 games, so we have this podcast again. a week from now, 2 weeks from now, down the road, we're gonna maybe revisit this list and be like, oh yeah, that guy's a bust.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott, yeah, he's a bust. But it's too early. It's too early to say that now.
Now there is a player, and again, where he's drafted. I was gonna say I've heard Allen Robinson being called a bust already. Miles Sanders. There's some names that are just disappointment so far. Um, well, we already know about Dobbins. I don't know how much you feel is Antonio Gibson living up to the hype where he was drafted at 14. Calvin Ridley has been a bust so far. He's a big name in the second round. Yeah, other than that, there's so far so good. Like where you drafted, a lot of players are kind of doing what they're expected. There are some that you just had better hopes for that are just kind
Yeah.
of slow.
Yeah, I certainly had more hopes for Gibson. I think he's been somewhat disappointing. He kind of saved his fantasy day the last game. He had like a long, like 70-yard touchdown catch.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Without that would have been a bust game too. That would have been like
yeah,
another.
yeah. I think it was 2 games ago, the second game where I was watching it, and they kept putting McKissick in there, J.D. McKissick, and it was like, and they were trying to like come back like in a game they were behind, and they like McKissick's on the field. I'm like, why do they have that guy on the field? Like that's the guy they're going with instead of Antonio Gibson. It just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the hell's happening? So they're using McKissick a lot more than I would have liked, um, but they're using him just enough that he's being relevant. But yeah, he can't keep up with if he stays at this pace all year long. Yeah, he would be a bust. He would fall into that bust category for sure.
Yeah. It's just so funny that these guys that you have all the experts tell you, you read all these magazines, you do all your homework, and then the season starts and the coach does this like 180, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
what the hell happened? I thought this was the man, like this and this, all the reports. But that's fantasy. That's part of the sport. I mean, you can only do the best you can when you're drafting. I got to say, one player, because I have him, I'm shocked how well he's doing is Mr. Cooper Kupp. Like he is on a tear right now. Now can he sustain the momentum that he's at? Unlikely. Is that he'll finish, but
Yeah, the number one receiver on the Rams. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're admitting it. You're admitting it now. All right.
Well, again, I would argue when Jared Goff, and I made this case before, when Jared Goff was on the team, if you look at the stats, Woods and Kupp got equal amount of looks. It was just it's just the reality of it. Now, did he get the same touchdowns as Kupp? No, but that's game script. But was Woods added an element of like he would run the ball, so he added different value. But with this new offense, with Matt Stafford, it's all Kupp. It's like those two guys. Wow. That's all he's looking for is where's Kupp? I'm throwing him Kupp the ball. So who knew? Like I wouldn't have. Like how did you know Kupp was going to be the guy? Like it could have easily been as Woods being his main target.
No, I think we all saw that it was Kupp. I think we all saw that it was Kupp. You're the only one that didn't see that it was Kupp.
Well,
you kept riding high on Woods. You did. Well, that you drafted him just because Woods was taken.
No, No, that's not correct.
Woods went first.
No,
and you were disappointed. Yes, you were disappointed that Woods went, and then you're like, well, I guess I'll just take the other guy, Kupp.
No,
you did.
Oh, he did.
He did. He went a whole round earlier, right?
All right. So I guess then we'd have to say that Antifa Boy must feel like the jackass for. Was that Antifa Boy taking Woods over Kupp?
Yes. Yeah, you took him like 5 picks later. So or 6 picks later. So yeah. Because I remember when he took him, and you were like all disappointed. You're like, "Oh, Woods is taken, whatever." And then it was your turn. I was like, "All right, I guess I'll take Kupp."
Yeah.
That would have been a kick in the nuts. If he took Kupp, and then you ended up with you you would have taken Woods there,
and I still would have held on to him with pride.
Yeah, but Kupp is tearing it up. I'm just looking at his game log. He's just like. He's heavily targeted every game. He's putting up numbers. He's scoring multiple touchdowns a game. It's crazy. It's crazy how good he's been.
Don't jinx him. Don't go. Don't give your
He's
evil
great. He's
mean
like
eye on him.
rubber. He's like rubber, Azar. He doesn't get injured.
Oh man. Well, you know what? The highlight of the whole so far, it's only been 3 weeks, is that Mr. Roper is hurting. His team is 2.
Yeah, and speaking of which, it is, I think we should be proud of our teams nowadays because you do know who's, first and second place right now.
We are. Yeah.
It's us too. We are. Everybody is looking up at our asses right now. Is what they're doing.
They doubt us when we talk about fantasy. They're like, "Oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about." But who's leading the pack right now?
Exactly. Exactly. Right. And it's like, you're 3-0, right? So you're riding high on the whole 3-0 thing, undefeated. I'm 2-1, which is good. Beating Mr. Roper, we felt really good last week. But we're up there in points. I'm leading the league in points now, but you're right there, third, only a couple points behind Shadow's Assassin. So he's scoring some points too. His team is also 2-1. So we're all kind of like right there. We're definitely the teams to beat so far after 3 weeks. So
and I feel bad because our third man couldn't make the podcast tonight because we'll be wrapping up in a minute.
Oh,
but his
ouch.
His team is in the basement too.
0-3,
Yeah.
0-3, and he is. Let's see where he is in total points scored. He's he's not too bad. He's in the middle of the pack there. So he's just had some bad luck. Yeah, he's fifth.
Yeah, we faced each other last week, and we both could have beat anybody else. We pretty much faced, but we just happened to play each other and having the 2 high scores that weekend. So that's just bad luck for him. But yeah, he's down there with Shady's Assassin. So there's Shadow's Assassin and then there's Shady's Assassin.
Yes, that's right. Well, there's a history between those two there, and it involves a cat. So let's just
now, if I'm not mistaken, isn't Shady's Assassin that's
Mute Boy?
That's Mute Boy, but he was drafted by Bordeaux.
Right? No. Oh,
he was there.
Mute Boy was there. He didn't say much. He didn't talk that much, but he definitely was there.
That's right.
No, Wardos was the one that drafted Shadow's Assassin's team, and he didn't. So far, he's done well for him.
And he was barely sober or coherent. That's just what the hell. It just goes to show. That's right. The Mute Boy was there. He didn't say anything. He was lost. Okay. I apologize. Oh man.
Yes. He was. He was there. He was there. He just, you just didn't hear him.
He just doesn't know.
Oh boy.
Well, you know what? I always make fun of him, and he made a crazy trade with Mr. Roper, and Mr. Roper took him. Well, you know what? Matt Stafford might end up being the number 1 quarterback in the league by the end of the season. So maybe he got the best of Mr. Roper.
He got a good quarterback. He did. He did. But
if Mahomes goes down, Mr. Roper will have a meltdown that he gave away Stafford because he could have easily.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. If Mahomes goes down too, he's already lost CMC for a few weeks here. But still, the quarterbacks, and we've talked about this in years past, and people have given me a hard time about it too. When I've tried to trade away a backup quarterback, people would say, well, there's so many quarterbacks out there. You can't really get all that much for a quarterback, regardless of how good he is. So same thing here. I know Stafford's been playing well. I don't think it's going to last, by the way, all season long. I really don't think we're going to be sitting here at the end of the year being like, yeah, Stafford's going to be MVP. I don't see him. I see there's going to be some ups and downs with him. But so far he's been playing well. I just think the 2 guys he gave up, and this past week is evident of how good those players can be. Justin Jefferson and James Robinson both had great games. They both had very good, productive games. And the other 2 guys that were traded for him, Sterling Shepard, was invisible, and the other guy didn't even play. He was injured. And it doesn't even matter if he's playing because he's already splitting time with 2 other guys. So it's just it was just one of the more lopsided trades in the history of our league. Thankfully, Stafford is continuing this, and if Stafford just doesn't go back to his Stafford ways, then I'm sorry, I gotta make sure I know the Shady's Assassins, not Shadow's Assassins.
Yeah.
God, they gotta change the name. Shady's Assassins. It's gonna be a long season. They're already 0-3. They're 0-3, and they're not. And I'm playing him this weekend, so he's gonna be 0-4. Boom, there I said it.
All right, and just because our man Jarvis can't defend himself. Who is he facing this week? Just to see, will he actually be 0-4? Will he ever be on this podcast again? Let's see.
He's got the Ireland drunks. He's
Oh
got
boy,
COVID boy. He's got
he's
COVID boy.
no,
Yeah,
he's
so
not.
he's got a chance.
Yeah, he's got COVID boy. Well, you know what? He he's slated to win, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yep, we will
The way,
see.
but I have a suspicion that he's gonna, because he hangs around with Mr. Roper a lot more now, and he's been a lot more negative like Mr. Roper. That if he goes 0-4,
Uh,
we might not have a guest.
no,
We might need a casting couch to see if we can get a third man in to fill in, because we might not have a third man
we're
for
gonna
a
have
while.
Barry McCockiner is gonna be our
Yep.
third man in for the
Yep.
rest of the season.
Yep. Maybe we'll bring in Wardos. Just tell him not to have too many beers.
God. Yeah. Yeah, you got to feel bad for Jarvis at this point, if he does go 0-4. Oh,
Yeah. Well,
and the fact that you stole Rogers away from him too, it's like he's really
yeah.
going to be ticked. He
Yeah,
doesn't have Rogers to enjoy.
he's gonna be more ticked when I bench him and just leave him there to rot on my bench. Prick. I'm
Shit.
watching Kirk Cousins put up more numbers than Rodgers every week, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just playing him out of spite just to irritate Jarvis, and he's killing me. I'm barely winning games because of him.
Yeah.
Uh, it's. I told him that's it. I'm gonna just watch him rot on the bench before I trade him. So, because he's just like Mr. Roper now. Anyways, all right, Big Meat. We went a lot longer than I thought we were gonna go. So we'll wrap it up. Any last thoughts before we shut down?
No. I got no last thoughts. But you know what? Here we were talking earlier about the guys asking about podcasts, and as in the middle of our podcast, we get more text. Podcast anyone? What podcast? So they're going to be very happy with at the end of this too when I upload this tonight. Hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow morning, so we could please our fans and make them happy.
Yes, and we went long, so that'll make them happy. So, all right, Big Meat, let's wrap it up there. All right, as always, follow us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, wherever you can download and stream YouTube. Enjoy it, review it, and tell people about it for us. And until next time, Big Meat, talk to you later.